Hey, hello YouTube, man. How you guys doing today? Sorry, I was just on the phone with a friend of mine. Yeah, I even used my Bluetooth at the house, honestly. Um, Simply because it's a hell of a lot easier than my phone. My phone has a tendency to turn itself on all the time. Anyway, it is me again, your favorite Texas trucker. We're coming to continue the series, Do You Really Want to Be an Owner-Operator? Alright, a lot of the things I've talked about so far have been fairly negative. You know, you got to track all these expenses. In that, there we go, right there. Yep. In that discussion about tracking your personal expenses and figuring out your profitable rate, I forgot to include taxes. Okay, as a 1099 contract employee or contract worker, owner operator, you are solely responsible for your own taxes, all your taxes. Comes out to roughly, give or take, right about 26%. 26% of your net income. So, if your net income is $1,000, 260 of that $1,000 isn't yours. And a lot of these, and I ain't gonna say all of them because I don't know how all of them operate, but a lot of these lease purchase operators are paid on a 1099. They're paid the same way I'm paid. So when they show you the settlement, and the settlement says, just like if I show you a settlement, my settlement might say $2,100, $2,800, $2,700, $2,600. It fluctuates quite a bit. If I show you that settlement, then my net take home, 26, 27, 28, whatever, $100. They show you, these lease purchase operators show you a net income of, say, $1,300, $1,500, $1,600. That's not the whole story, okay? Because you got to subtract 26% from that, and if you take 26% from $1,000, that's $260. Okay, 26% of $1,000 is $260. So, if say I'm not a math wizard, believe that or not, I really am not. But let's say that you have a person showing you who's on a lease purchase program is paid on a 1099, who shows you a settlement that says he's taking home $1,500. Okay, then you take that 26% out of there. He's paying $390 in taxes. Of course, he's got to pay that himself. It's not coming directly out of his check. All right, so that means that his take home was actually $1,110. Okay. There's advantages and disadvantages to being either or, and I'm not a fan of any lease purchase. Y'all should know that by now. I'm not a fan of any lease purchase. That's not to say that they don't have advantages over owner operators, because they do, and they have sometimes they're pretty severe advantages. Okay. My dislike of lease purchase programs, especially in companies, is a personal matter. Okay, it's a personal matter based on my personal business decisions and my personal business style, my way of doing things, I guess you can say. It doesn't mean that a lease purchase is wrong. It just means that I don't personally like them. Okay, and what I like or dislike largely is immaterial. There's advantages to being in a lease purchase, especially if you're in a lease purchase with a major company. There's only maybe 3 companies that I would honestly consider a lease purchase with if I were of the mindset to do a lease purchase. One of those is CRST Malone, one of those is Snyder, one of those is Prime. They're the only ones that I would really give any thought towards doing an actual lease purchase with. It's possible that I might agree to do a lease purchase with ATS also. ATS may be the 4th one of those that I might consider. The advantages to that is that these companies are mega companies. They're companies that have thousands and thousands of trucks. And with thousands and thousands of trucks, you have buying power. With buying power, you get discounts. the more your buying power, the more your discount. For instance, let's say tires. Okay, let's say that I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy a drive tire. My drive tire might cost me $700 to buy a drive tire. BF Goodrich, I think, is a $700 tire right now. Well, a $700 tire is what I would pay. Now, using the NASTIC membership, I might be able to get $100 knocked off of that. So I might be able to get that drive tire for, say, $600. And so let's say that you belong to, we'll say Snyder. And I don't know what Snyder's program is, but I know how many trucks Snyder, well, I know about how many trucks Snyder has. With the buying power that Snyder has, a person that drives for Snyder can go buy that exact same tire for probably $400, if not a little less. So there's advantages just in the buying power, okay? Buying power and the amount of fuel purchased also has a direct impact on the discounts that you gain for fuel. So I may, my main, I use NASTIC's Fleet One fuel card. And so my primary focus, my primary discounts are from TA Petro. TA Petro is a partner with NASTIC. And so we get our best discounts from TA Petro. But with, say, Snyder's program, and I don't know a whole lot about Snyder's program, but with their amount of fuel that they purchase, they have the buying power to get better discounts at different places. And so their discounts at TA Petro may be more than mine, or their discounts at say Love's or Pilot Flying J might be more than mine. Okay, it all depends on how they set up their contract based on the buying power that they have at the time. And buying power is directly relative to the amount of trucks that you have on the road. So as an owner-operator, if you get out there as an owner-operator and you're a one-truck operation, and we'll just say for the sake of argument that you're not leasing onto another company, that you're going to run your own authority, then your buying power is one truck. And what you can purchase with one truck. So what are you going to purchase? $1,000 a week in fuel. You're going to purchase $52,000 a year in fuel, give or take $50,000 a year in fuel. They don't care about that. That's a drop in the bucket. All right. So in order for you to gain the buying power, or any buying power at all, you have to join someplace like NASTIC or someplace like OIDA. And you have to get a card through NASTIC, or you have to get a card through OIDA that's going to save you money. All right. And with their buying power, then you can get some discounts. With a company like Prime, or a company like Snyder, or a company like CRST Malone, then you don't have to do that. You piggyback on their buying power. So there's definitely an advantage to being a lease purchase operator. There's a second advantage to being a lease purchase operator. The second advantage to being a lease purchase operator is that most of your loads, and not all of them, like CRST Malone, they have dedicated trailers. And so with CRST Malone, you have one trailer, you're renting that trailer, and so all your stuff is just like mine. It's live load, live unload. But for companies like Prime, companies like Snyder, the majority of your loads are going to be drop and hook. Therefore, you're in and you're out. And that's a huge advantage. It's a great, big advantage, especially if you're doing drive-in, or if you're doing reefer. Now, I don't know a lot about reefer, so I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and talk about reefer, but in drive-in, I did drop and hooks with drive-in. I could get in and out 30 minutes tops, no problems at all. So it's definitely something that you want to consider, or at least it's something that you want to be aware of. Understand that with the E-log mandate coming out, most, if not all trucks, the ELD mandate is the final rule has already been published, but the final rule, contrary to popular belief, is not final, because it's being challenged in court. And as it gets challenged in court and it goes through the court process, some or all of that final rule may be changed. It may be changed by the court, or it may be ruled unconstitutional. It may be ruled that they can't keep it at all. It may be appealed or repealed, or however you want to say it. But the final rule, as written right now, states that 2000 model trucks and new and older are not subject to the ELD mandate. Okay, And therefore, my truck, the 1997 Kenworth T600 that I drive right now, I can run paper logs on indefinitely, as the rule states right now. I never have to go under the ELD mandate. Now, whether my company agrees with that or not, it's a whole totally different subject. My company is in the process of preparing for the ELD mandate, and they are in the process of putting things in place to convert over to e-logs. Now, when you do that, you companies that have a drop and hook procedure have a huge advantage over companies that have live load, live unload procedures. Okay, in dry van with Triple C Transit, it was not uncommon for me to have a 6 to 8 to 10 hour unload time. Okay, or load time for that matter. It happened quite a bit. It happened quite often, and I was very often very irritated and aggravated about it. All right, and we all know the 14-hour rule and how the 14-hour rule works. The 14-hour rule says that if I start my day at 4 o'clock in the morning, then I have to end my day by 6 o'clock at night. 14 hours. There's nothing that stops that rule. There's nothing that slows that rule down. There's nothing that pauses that rule. That rule is from the minute that you go on duty to the minute that you go off duty, or to the minute that you go, your time ends for the day is 14 hours. The only thing that stops that is a 10-hour break. So the 14-hour rule, and you have 11 hours of drive time in a 14-hour period, that means you only have 3 hours to play with. All right, so that 3 hours that you have to play with includes your pre-trip, your post-trip, your fuel stops. It also includes any stops that you have as a flatbedder to adjust or check on your load. It includes any break time that you have in the middle of that 30-minute mandated break, and any bathroom breaks that you may stop and take en route. All that stuff is included in that 14-hour time period. So if I come into a shipper and I get loaded, and that load time takes 4 hours for me to get loaded, from the time I drive in till the time I drive out takes 4 hours to get loaded, then that means that I only have 10 hours of available drive time in that day, because 4 hours of that time was used getting loaded and unloaded. But even then, that 10 hours of drive time in a day is a little it's not accurate. Because I'm working on my 14-hour clock now instead of my 11-hour clock. Let's say that I drive an hour to get to the shipper. I get to the shipper and it takes 4 hours to get loaded. That's 5 hours out of my day, but only 1 hour of that's drive time. So now I've only got a total of 9 more hours that I can drive. But we had to do a pre-trip, and if we did not have to fuel at the same time, but I still have to fuel at some point today, we have a pre-trip and a fuel stop in the middle of that. Let's just say you're on e-logs. Now, these guys on e-logs, we're getting pretty close to this, so we need to wrap this up. These guys on e-logs, they talk about, I only have to log 5 minutes. The law is to log it as you do it. But anyway, we're not even going to get there right now. But anyway, so let's say you log 5 minutes fuel, 5 minutes pre-trip, and then you got a 30-minute break in between. All right, so that's 40 minutes out of your day that you're not driving. So now you actually only have 8 hours and 20 minutes of drive time. So there's these advantages strongly go to the mega corporations here, because they have a drop and hook policy, most of them. As an owner operator, you have to understand that you're going to lose some of that time. So as a company driver, it's possible for you to put 3,500 miles a week down if you push hard enough. Okay. But for a company driver, that same 3,500 miles might be down to 3,000 miles. I might lose 500 miles worth of time in my week, simply because of the fact that I have to do a live load and a live unload every trip. That's one of the things that we want you to pay attention to. Okay, one of the things that we want you to ask the question. Okay, again, it's about asking questions. All right. Do you really want to be an owner-operator? That's the question. Do you really want to be an owner-operator? In this instance right here, is the advantage of having a drop-and hook, or the advantage of less downtime, worth giving that up for live loads and live unloads on almost every trip? Because you're going to lose time. You're going to lose time. And in this industry, time is money. So do you really want to be an owner-operator? Do you really want to take that risk? All right? Peace out. Share, subscribe, let people know about this series. Let people know what we're talking about here. And we will catch you later on the flip side.